Welcome to XNC. This is the Xbox Newscast podcast. I'm the host, Colteastwood, and I'm here with two very special guests from Xbox itself. I've got Jeff Rubenstein here. Say hi, wave to the audience.
Look at that open. That was some beautiful editing. You're getting me very excited for stuff that we can't play yet.
Yes, everybody's really excited. Thank you, Jeff. Also, we've got Major Nelson, or Larry Hryb of Xbox. How you doing, Larry?
Cole, I am so excited to be here with Jeff and talk to you about Xbox. This is, this is just great. I'm excited. I always love coming on someone else's show because I don't have to do anything but show up and talk. So here we go.
He loves doing that.
And we've got a lot to talk about. But before we get in, we'll kind of warm up. Jeff, Larry, you guys have been at home. You've been working from home. What have you been playing from home to keep you sane while all you have is sheetrock and windows to look at?
Jeff, I'll let you kick off.
This has almost become a cliche at work at this point, but I completely absorbed into the Yakuza series. I am in the final, last probably hour of Judgment right now. I've been completely absorbed into it. I really when we can. The first thing I want to do is go to Japan. I've been completely sucked into it. I went from never having played it to this is my favorite series of all time now. So it's pretty amazing. And they're all in Game Pass. If you don't play Yakuza Like a Dragon, then you've wounded me personally on a spiritual level. It's there. It's in Game Pass now. Please play. It's my favorite game of the year last year.
So the whole series is on Xbox now and on Game Pass, pretty much?
If it has the word Yakuza in the title, it's available at Game Pass. And there's Judgment's a spin-off. If you've been playing these Yakuza games in Game Pass, highly recommend. It is worth your money. Same studio, super refined, and a completely different storyline. I could spend 30 minutes talking about this. Your fans don't want that.
I do.
Or do they? I know we could do a spin-off cast, Yakuza cast. We'll workshop it.
All right, Larry, what have you been playing? Has it been Yakuza?
No, that's
more crazy.
That's Jeff's thing, and it's, don't get me wrong, it's a great series. I've been playing a lot of different things. Recently, a couple weeks ago, I hit Pirate Legends and Sea of Thieves, so I'm pretty proud of that. Took a few years, so thank you, Jeff. So I'm super excited, especially in light of the new content we're getting in less than 24 hours on Sea of Thieves with that that's going on there. So I'm excited about that. Been doing that. I was playing Doom Eternal. I seriously, the vast majority of the pandemic, I was playing that game on the most difficult level, and it is unforgiving. It is ridiculous.
How many months did it take? Because I felt like you just kept saying you were playing it, and at some point you did finish it though, didn't you?
Yeah, I finished it about a month ago, maybe a little less than a month ago. It took me I think it came out last March, so about a year and 4 months. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun. So that's what I've been doing. But look, I've been playing a lot of different things, trying to go through there, rip through the Game Pass catalog, and see what I can play. Jeff and I have been playing. What we played the dodgeball game, right? Knockout City.
Yeah, Knockout City. We had a really good time with that. There's just been a ton to play. I don't know. Is it hit at midnight tonight? Going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons, Dark. Oh man, help me out here. Dark Legacy, I think it is. So that's
Dark Alliance.
Dark Alliance. Thank you.
Yeah.
My legacy will be how I messed up the name of the game. That will be my legacy. But no, I'm very excited for that one, and that'll be a 4-player co-op, which it'll be easy to find friends playing because it's on Game Pass.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I've spent the better part of the last month or so playing through the Mass Effect trilogy, and I could not believe how it sucked me back in. It was like playing it all over from scratch. Like I got amnesia. It's amazing. It's been great. So you guys are all trying to come back. It's been a long year plus. A lot of people working from home. Give me your take, Jeff, on what's going on with Xbox, all the employees, some maybe returning. What's the air right now as things might be getting back to normal?
Well, as you can see, Larry and I are in our own home. Some homes are nicer than others. Look at Larry with the plantation shutters and like he's got the whole setup there. I'm very jealous. The reality is though that us being in comms, we don't need to be in the office. I think those who need to have access to certain things, like if you're making a controller, I'm going to call out my Xbox Design Lab controller here. It doesn't talk about anyone's cooking skills. Paris, I see you in the chat.
Paris is here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's in there. I see Miles is in there. Anyway, so people that need to have access to certain tools or equipment are able to safely do so. But people like us, we don't need to be in the office, to do our jobs. We're used to traveling all the time, so we're not there. I will say the part that I miss is just that human to human interaction. I'm using the same laptop as I would use if I was in the office. That's not the difference. It's not about the chair that I had there, although it was a nice chair. It really is about not being able to get lunch with Larry or talk about things, with the Xbox Wire team and getting coffee. And then honestly, being at shows and, working with creators like yourself. And it's that face-to-face interaction that I miss the most. And really, I'm very much looking forward to whenever we can safely do that, to come back together and do that.
Yeah. Larry, give us your take. What did you like going home? Are you ready to see people a little more often? How are you feeling?
So it was a little different for me because I don't know if a lot of folks know this, but I have a young daughter. She's 3.5 years old. So being in a pandemic with a 3.5-year-old is an entirely different level of stuff. My wife does a great job, and that's her job is to work on our daughter, and she's been great. But it's been a lot of fun to be able to spend some time with her. And then just today Jeff and I were back and forth. It's like, hey, we need to have this meeting about certain things. I'm like, I'm going to go have lunch with my daughter and my wife, and I'll be back in a few minutes. So that has really been great. But as Jeff said, I miss those moments where I'm like reading something and I would say, hey, Jeff, because he sits just seriously 5 feet from me. And I said, what do we think about this or that? Or, we were always talking, we're going to grab some lunch. We're going over to the other campus to maybe pick up a controller. We're doing all these things. And we've seen each other maybe 5 times, maybe less than 5 times in the past year, right, Jeff?
Yeah, and usually through a mask or outdoors somewhere. It's not the same. The part that I don't miss is the part where I sat in front of Larry, and he would sometimes my phone would just start ringing, and I was like, what was happening? It would just be blowing up, and it's because he took a picture of me from behind because I was doing something stupid like doing a yoga stretch at my desk, and then he tweeted it out without my permission or consent, and then I'm getting tagged in it, and that part. That's the one part I don't miss. But as Jeff said, we do miss seeing our folks, because Jeff and I work together all the time and we talk. I mean, there not a day goes by where he and I are not texting or talking. But there's other members of the team that I don't get to communicate with as frequently because I don't have the same level of relationship. And so I miss seeing those people, some of our marketing partners, some of our engineering folks. I mean, all around, I've seen Phil only a handful of times in the past year, so I haven't had a chance to drop by his office and talk to him. So it's those types of those social moments that you can't get like this. But I will say this is, as Jeff knows, I'm famous for looking who's available, and I'll just call and say, okay, well, how you doing? What's going on? So it's kind of a virtual drop in. Jeff doesn't like it. No.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Well, you both work in communications, so your job is to help with messaging and getting out to the public what's going on with Xbox. And you just went through a massive undertaking of helping the public get ready for E3, the Gamer Christmas. Jeff, tell us what it was like getting ready for E3 and what you hope to achieve doing this yet again from a live stream. What was the objective there?
Yeah, I mean, it was really all about showing the games and showing the sort of the fruits of Bethesda being part of the family, and that's why you saw the show begin and with titles that kind of I think blew people away. I mean, that's for you to tell me, but I was, to be honest, like very excited, very pumped because we weren't in a room. I watched from here. I think it was upstairs. And so a lot of those things I saw for the first time. We knew what was in there. But so it's a very different experience. But I think what the takeaway was, 30 games, 27 of them in Xbox Game Pass. And 18, I think 20 games that you'll be playing this year. And I think that is the key thing, is that knowing that, starting today or tomorrow, I should say, with Dark Alliance, I got it right this time. And with A Pirate's Life, you're going to be playing those tomorrow. And then you're going to be moving on very quickly into things like Flight Simulator, things like, Psychonauts coming later this summer. And there's 12 Minutes is this summer. There's just so many things that we're going to be playing The Ascent relatively soon. And then once we get into the fall and we get to play Back 4 Blood, we get to play Halo Infinite this holiday and Forza Horizon 5, huge Forza Horizon fan. So it was really getting you excited about things coming this year and then things that are really not that far down the line that I think are especially as exciting. For me, it was Stalker 2. That was a game that I'd never played the first one, and there was no way I'm missing the second one. So I think you got a feel for things to be excited about now, things to really be excited for really in the not too distant future.
Oh, yeah. It opened the floodgates once E3 hit. Like, all the games are ready to start coming. Larry, what was your role in getting ready for E3? What was your big thing that you were doing to help the team?
Yeah, Colt, what I've been doing since working on the Xbox team for so long, 17 plus years, when I joined the team, a couple things I want to point out. When I joined the team, Windows XP was still the main Windows version. Original Xbox was still in stores. So we were planning for the Xbox 360. So I've been involved in the Xbox 360 launch, the Xbox One launch, now of course the Xbox Series X and S launch, and of course all the derivative ones along the way there. So this moment in time allows me to work across the teams and look at the different elements we have coming in, the different assets, the different messaging, and figure out how I can do best in my channels to help support it, but also make sure the story's clean. We have some amazing world-class communicators. These are some of the smartest people you will ever work with, to the point of we just overthink everything, Jeff and I and others. But this year was particularly exciting because we got to really step out, and Phil's been telling people, relax, the studios are working on things, we're getting through there, and here you just saw the beginning of it. This is, we have so much more in the pipeline. So this is really exciting. So to answer your question, my job is really to work horizontally across the engineering teams and the studio teams and look at their messaging and what can I do to help amplify it and make sure that you, as many of the hardcore gamers, understand what we're doing. And sometimes we don't have to overthink it. Look, at the end of the day, we just want great games. And not only that, I'm going to add on to that. Not only do we want great games, we want great games in Game Pass. So that's pretty much the path forward.
Yeah. Let me add to that question for you, Larry. You were talking about how Phil said that the teams are working on games.
Yep.
There's this big synergy. He recently tweeted out that this was the biggest E3 they've had in a long time, and since the 360 days. This is big synergy. It's a big moment. Xbox fans are excited. They're ablaze on social media. They're talking about it all over the place. This is a big, exciting moment. So what do you think was the biggest response you saw from this E3, Larry? What was the big item that you saw most people talking about over everything for Xbox?
It's hard to say because, Xbox is, back in the day in the mid 2000s, we were the shooter box with Call of Duty and so on and so forth. And certainly we have an amazing collection of shooters in the portfolio, but Xbox is so much more. So the key this year was diversity. And you saw that, Jeff talked at the beginning of the show about Bethesda. Now that we've got Bethesda part of Xbox, that just unlocks an amazing portfolio of titles that are just mind-blowing. And some of which we saw, we certainly saw Starfield at the top of the show with Todd, and we saw a little bit about what they're working on. So the key is that there's something for everybody in the show. We saw that, what was that? Was it Animal Party or Party Animals?
Party Animals.
Party Animals, Party Animals, which was like, I'm like, what is this? And I stopped. I was, because I hadn't seen it before y'all did. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, why not, right? Why not? So we saw everything from Starfield to some more Halo Infinite, and then of course the next day we saw that amazing Halo Infinite multiplayer Vidoc. Go watch this thing. So get me jazzed for that. We saw all of these things, and then of course the button at the end was two things. Was we saw Forza Horizon 4, which in Mexico. 5, sorry, Forza Horizon 5 in Mexico, which is going to be amazing. And then, of course, the show ended with a refrigerator. So, top that.
Yeah, he said one more thing, and it was Redfall, and then one more thing was a refrigerator. So, yeah, something for everybody to be excited about. Yeah. I think quite a lot of buzz for Forza Horizon 5. But
to Phil's point, as somebody who's been around here for a long time, this felt amazing. It felt great because for many years in 360, we got up there, we talked about the games, and we certainly did that in the past 10 years or so. But this absolutely, Phil's right. It felt like when I was working there in 2006, 2007, 2008, where Xbox was just firing on all cylinders and the community was with us and we were just playing games and having fun. And that's really what it felt like.
That's awesome. So we've got a lot of excited fans that are talking about everything for E3, and we've talked about E3 quite a bit. But one of the things that came right before E3 was Microsoft Satya Nadella stood up with Phil and said, we're all in gaming, which is a message we'd heard behind the scenes a lot. And we'd heard the energy and the support for Xbox to grow bigger and bigger. But he talked to the press and said, we're really excited about what Microsoft and Xbox can do together. So, Jeff, what have you been doing? Have you been pushing this new all in for Xbox? Can you give us your take on what's going on there?
I'll be honest, I don't think that's new. I started slightly before Satya became the CEO. I think that was 2014 or end of 2013, and I started in late 2013. And I feel like I've felt this the whole time. And if you look at I want to say Satya's first acquisition as a CEO across the board, for any merger, acquisition, anything like that for the company that he did was Mojang back in 2014. If that's not a commitment to gaming right from the start, I don't know what is. And I feel like we've only seen that since. And you really just feel it. This is, Larry, you've been here longer. I feel like gaming maybe was at arm's length before I started here. You can talk more about that.
Yeah, it's funny. When I joined Microsoft in 2001, Colt, I worked on the MSN team on some of the content side. And then in 2003, I moved over to the Xbox team, and I'll never forget it because when I got the assignment of where I was going to go, my office was going to be, it was at the end of a highway next to a gravel pit in rented offices that didn't have enough parking for everybody that worked there. So if you didn't show up by 9 a.m. in the morning, you didn't get a parking space. I vividly remember some of my coworkers sitting outside in the fire lane, double parked in their cars, sending email, saying, hey, I'm outside the east fire door if you need me. So that was where we were kind of this weird marginalized group that was we were just gamers that wanted to build great games and great gaming systems and great gaming experiences. In 2009, we moved to the main campus, which is where, frankly, where part of us are still located. And that's where it felt like, oh, we're really becoming part of the Microsoft. And then over the coming years, it became better and better. But what's interesting is it's, and I've told people this, so this is not a secret, but this version of Microsoft and this version at Xbox that we're experiencing right now is the best version of Microsoft and Xbox that I have seen in 20 years. Both in terms of the corporate work that Microsoft is doing and the Xbox, the commitment that Phil has made to gamers and putting gamers at the center. Some of the things we're doing there are just amazing. We talk about streaming from the cloud with xCloud and Game Pass Ultimate. We talk about all of the work that they're doing there, and of course, we talked a lot about Game Pass. And then, of course, at the end of the day, we have to have great games. So I'm just really excited, but it feels very different. And Satya, as Phil has said, is all in. And Phil has told me, and I've apologies if you've heard this story before, but Phil and I were talking. He talks about how Satya is the CEO of Microsoft, one of the most successful companies in the world. But he, when he's in a meeting, he can see when Phil's on his laptop playing a game. or something like that.
What?
For whatever reason. So he'll call him out. That's what he's told me. I haven't been in there, but that's kind of the way it goes. But it's and what's great about Satya, he's incredibly smart, incredibly thoughtful. He knows what he knows, and he knows what he doesn't know. And he leans on his experts around the world and around the boardroom table to help out. And that's why I'm so excited to have Phil as the head of Xbox.
That's good. Well, does Satya get like a notification that Phil got an achievement in the middle of the meeting, and then he calls him out? Or
look, at the end of the day, I'm sure Satya has some technology that no one here is even aware of. So it could be.
Oh, wow, that's great. When you're talking about great games, we have to talk about the stunner. You know, people were worried about Halo Infinite. 343 knocked it out of the park. You know, you and I talked last year, Larry, when they showed the 5-minute gameplay segment with a couple bookended with some cinematics.
Could we just say Craig?
Yeah, Craig.
Okay,
no, I mean, you and I talked directly afterwards, and I was really impressed with the gameplay.
Right.
I mean, everybody's impressed with the gameplay. You know, there's just some things that they ironed out. But anyway, obviously they've ironed out how Halo Infinite looks. It is one of the great stunners of the show, even next to Forza Horizon 5, which surprised a lot of people that may even knew it was coming. So have you gentlemen had a chance to talk to anybody at 343 as they're riding on this high? Have you talked to anyone? How's the studio feeling at this juncture?
Yeah, I actually talked to the folks that produced the Vidoc and a few of the folks over there, and they're feeling great. I mean, they're feeling really good. They're happy, but you know, it's kind of like a soccer match or basketball or football where it's like, okay, we won this one, but we've got to get ready for the next one, and we want to make sure at the end of the day that they're going to deliver a great experience. So what you saw was a glimpse of the excellence in that studio, a glimpse on the focus of what they want to have Halo. Look, Halo has an amazing recipe, right? It has an amazing recipe. There's not a lot of things that they want to. You want to make the ingredients a little better here, maybe add a little bit more of this. But at the end of the day, it's a great recipe that they're going to really make a little bit better. They don't want to get completely different and go nouveau and have a different, fusion. They don't need that. They just want to make this a great version of Halo, and that's what they're focused on.
Great, Jeff. What do you think?
There's some people in chat here. I'm looking, and as I was listening to, I was listening to you, and I was listening to. I see Snowbike Mike is in here. I see Paris is in here.
Hey, Mike.
And that's how I judge like how well the show went, and they went on at length about Halo Infinite showing, and seemed to be very pleased. And that's when when you tend to be so close to something. Kind of, I'm going to say it almost doesn't matter what we think. What you all think is like very important to us and very important to me personally. I'm your contact here at the company, so I want to know what you think. And by the way, the support of just the podcasters and the Xbox community, you got to love that. Them showing up for you, and I know you would do the same when you've got different folks visiting. We had Aaron Greenberg and. We had Pete Hines over on the XCast last week. You might have heard that this weekend. So yes. I love the community, and I think Miles Dompierre is in here. Just seeing the crossover is just awesome to see.
Hey, Miles.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could wave and talk to everybody. Yeah, there's amazing people in the community. But Jeff, you're hearing the overall crowd of Xbox fans are really happy with Halo Infinite as it is right now.
From what I've seen, and again, I'm living my life a lot through you all, and
like this
personally, that Vidoc, and I know you've called it out, Larry. Like, watch that. It was one thing watching the trailer, and you get like the quick cuts, and you get I mean, it was really cool when you would hear like double kill, and like those are the things it's sort of like I was like. That just hit me over here. Like, oh, like you're reaching into the recesses of my brain and in my heart, and sort of like playing all the right strings. But then watching that, I think it was 13-minute Vidoc over on 343's YouTube. That's where I was just like, yes, you're saying all the right things.
That's a monster right now. If you go over there and take a look at it, I mean, I talked to the guy who wrote it, produced it, and he's living a high right now. He's really excited. He's like, later this week, I'm gonna focus and build the next one. So he's just focused on building great stuff for the community.
And I will not rest until I am able to grapple hook onto a ghost and throw, the opposing Spartan out.
Or Larry.
Here's the thing. I'm going to be stuck on the team with Larry, so it's going to be one of the two of us that's getting thrown out. Like, that is inevitable. But yeah, there was just so many things to look forward to, and I mean, I can't wait to see more, and I can't wait for all of you to play it and tell us what you think. You don't need me to sit here and tell you that the game is good. I want to know what you think.
Yeah. The other stunner was Forza Horizon 5, and that one won some Best at Show for E3.
Yeah.
The racing game that comes every 2 or in this case 3 years. One of my favorite games. I've got probably 1,000 hours into the series. I can't put it down. So Forza Horizon 5 looks great. Playground's amazing. They're so passionate. What do you guys think about Playground? They're hard at work. Have you guys had a chance to look at Fable?
I'm going to take this one so we don't get in an awkward position. No. Jeff and I, as we said earlier, have been busy working on this, and Playground's focused on shipping Forza Horizon 5. So I wish I could tell you I've seen Fable. I'm a huge Fable fan, so I'm really excited for it, but I've seen Bupkis. I actually Jeff and I talked about this earlier today. We were talking about some things. Sometimes I don't want to see the game before it's released. I want to see it because I'm a gamer at the end of the day. Yes, I work in this industry. Yes, I love what I do. But I'm at the end of the day, I'm a gamer. I want to have those surprise moments and those moments that we all had in gaming, and I know that Fable will deliver some of those.
I've been in meetings. This is one of those things where you're outside of the industry. We're like, oh, I would love to be able to see this stuff early. You don't want the spoilers.
This is why we're here. We're here to have these great moments.
There have been games where by the time it came out, I was like, I've played this level so many times that I'm doing it again for the achievements here.
Yeah.
There are times where we are a little jealous of you. You had said getting to relive Mass Effect, and you were glad that there was some amnesia. You got to live that again for the first time. We're gamers. If I did not work here, I would have Game Pass. I would be playing all these games too. And so while we're working on these things, we're planning for certain things, I want to know as little. I want to be on a need to know basis. I want to know as little as I need to know so I can play alongside with you. I have not played through a Pirate's Life and the Tall Tales when that goes live tomorrow.
Oh, not yet, huh?
We'll be jumping through.
Awesome.
I don't need to. I need to know what's coming. And now I'm going to want to join in. I know I was talking to a couple of creators, and hopefully Larry will get to play in there too. So very, very excited. By the way, I saw a comment on that. You can solo that. One of the commenters asked if you can. Once you get into that tall tale and it gets started, you will not be attacked or invaded by other players, which is good to know.
Oh, good. God, I can be terrible at that sometimes.
No, I just wanted to add a little bit of that, Colt, is that it's we don't want to have those spoiled moments. We, as I said earlier, Jeff and I, we want to just enjoy them and let them unfold in front of us. Nobody likes spoilers. Nobody likes spoilers. And there's, this is an interactive medium or beyond. It's not linear storytelling like movies and books and so forth. We're afforded the ability to have these multimedia experiences where we can control how fast we're going to progress through it. And that's what's beautiful about this. So just enjoy it. Don't get it spoiled. Don't spoil for anybody. Don't be that person.
Yeah, well, there will be plenty to play on the Xbox in the future as we look forward to all the games that are coming out. You showed 30 games, 27 of them are in Game Pass. A good chunk of those are timed or full exclusive to Xbox. So if you're on Xbox, there's a huge suite of unique games to play. Did the team have to pick and choose what they would show now because there's other stuff in the future?
Well, it's a fine art, Colt. What we wanted to do this year, which I think we accomplished, was show the depth and the breadth of games, the portfolio, both first and third party, for Xbox gamers. Whether they're going to be playing on a console at Xbox Series X or an S or an Xbox One, or even streaming from the cloud. So wherever you are and whatever you're doing, we want to make sure that we've got games for everyone. So when we looked at what the games, when the team looked at all the different titles coming down, they want to show that we've got something for everybody. Certainly we need to show Halo and Forza Horizon because that's what people are expecting. But there's also a lot of other, oh, wow, I didn't know. Like we talked about Party Animals. So these other types of games that are in there. So we're going to try to have something for everybody. And of course, as Jeff said, make sure they're available in Game Pass.
Right. But I think where I definitely saw and heard a lot of positive feedback was on the cadence and the way the show rolled out. I'm actually curious, Colt, like how you feel by having sort of like, here it is, boom, 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 30 games, 27 in Game Pass, 20 plus that you'll play this year. But then having the longer conversations hosted by Paris on that
yes.
Thursday, like where you got to dive deeper, learn about the motivation, see some additional footage for certain games. I'm like super hyped for Scarlett Nexus in a way that I didn't expect to because of a Vidoc that was in that show.
Tell a Paris story.
Yeah. Oh
Yes, please.
And I don't even think he knows this story. So if he's in the chat, stay tuned for
I
the.
hope he's still here.
When Paris was doing the show, when they were getting ready to do it and he was doing his segments, I was invited to come down because I wanted to talk to the team and say hello to everybody. I was expressly forbid from being in the room where Paris was. They said, don't go in the room. Not because of Paris, because our team, the Xbox team, didn't want me to make him nervous. And he was doing such a great job. And I was like, I don't think he's going to get nervous. He's a professional. What does he care? But he did an amazing job. And I ended up sneaking in the room. Remember, Paris? I know you're watching. And
there he is. He's got the eyes.
And we did say hello. So it was such an amazing moment to see Paris, see him up on stage and help. He was representing. Let me be clear. Yes, Jeff and I work at Xbox, but Paris was there representing you, the gamers, and he was talking to some folks, and he did an amazing job. So no, this is the Paris Love Fest.
I don't know how he did it. He didn't look nervous. He looked like he'd done that show 70 times. You were saying about how the audience took the show. I'll just say, as soon as the show ended, all of the people that I talked to said the pacing was phenomenal. Like bang, 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 like no fluff. There were some smaller games, but then you're just back to mostly big games the whole show. So that was great. And then we weren't expecting the even more that came that following week with the vid doc of Halo Infinite and Paris doing the breakdown of game studios and showing a little bit of Hellblade and seeing how hard at work they're doing, how they've been stuck at home and not able to do now they're doing motion capture. So these studios are ramping up, they're getting excited, so the fans are getting excited. So I guess if you're listening, everybody that you work with, and that we love this cadence that you've done last year and this year. It just gets better and better, so keep that up, of course. More games, more games, more games.
Well, I also want to call out, you know what, Cole? I want to call out a little bit here. We talked about at the studios is that, we all know that games take many years to develop and create. And we're coming off, as Phil said, and you said, and a lot of people in the chat have said, this is a great moment for Xbox. Great show. Well, let's be clear. A lot of this was developed when people were working remotely. A lot of these assets and what you saw was worked on 12 months ago. So in the middle of people working at home, that they were able to pull this off, and we were able to present a show of this quality, of this caliber, showing this amazing content. That, to me, hats off to the developers around the world. So thank you. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's really true. People have to remember that Xbox Game Studios is all over the globe now. You guys are in North America, South America, over in Europe, and
Japan,
everywhere. So Japan. And like when I mentioned, like, did you guys see Playground Games? They're over in the UK. Did you fly over to UK? I was talking to Jeff before the show. Not a lot of people have been traveling lately, so we have to remember these teams are working from home. What phenomenal work they're doing. Yeah. So let's end here with your message in communications. You're excited. You're getting the fans. You're interacting with the people who are consuming these games and getting excited. Jeff, what is your main message that you want to give to Xbox fans as they're looking at this trajectory of more games? As I say, more games than you can probably play.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel, and this is what I'm hearing, is that the strategy that we have about play the games that you want, play them with who you want, and play them where you want on the devices that you want is breaking through. That's really what it's been. It's something that we've been working for. Phil called that shot, like, I want to say 5 years ago at a showcase we did in San Francisco. And since then, it's been building towards that. And the fact that we will be able to play, theoretically, like tomorrow, we could be playing Sea of Thieves, and I could be on my Series X. Someone could be on their Xbox One. Larry, you could be on your PC. Someone could be joining us via the cloud. And we could all just do this seamlessly. And we can switch devices, and everything just comes with us. Like, it's starting to really get there. And that content part which is that huge part. We're here for games. I'm hoping that you all saw really the promise, the potential, and the things that you're going to be playing, again, starting tomorrow, with many, many more to come, that Xbox, we really believe, is the best place to play.
Okay, I've got one final question for Larry. The team's really busy. Are there plans to do any additional events or Xbox appearances in the coming year?
Well, we just came off of this great event, which it would blow your mind the number of people that took to pull that off. I mean, it was as many as you think. Let's just say that. Xbox, as Jeff said a moment ago, the community has always been, and the gamers are at the center of what we do. Phil Spencer that's the edict. That's what we do. So we're gonna, once the world is reset and we can kind of get back out and be in the same space again, I think you're going to see something. We don't have anything to announce right now, but we love getting together. We love when we see each other at E3 or at PAX, or when we run into you at a GameStop or a Best Buy, whatever it is. So we love having these community events, whether it's 10 people or whether it's 1,000 people or 10,000 people. We love having these events. I love going out and talking to people and meeting fans. I know Phil loves it. I mean, it's the fun part of our job. We have a lot of parts of our job that are not I'm not gonna say they're not fun, but that's the fun stuff. That's what we look forward to. So we're really excited to get back there and look you in the eyes and hear you, and you can tell us what you like, what you don't like, and just to see and feel your excitement. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And I think just even seeing, I'm reading every comment that comes through here. The thing about working in gaming is you're never at a loss for what people think, and we appreciate the compliments, and we also appreciate and do pay attention to the feedback where it's constructive, where it's like, why aren't you doing this, or can you do this? And it's super valued, and I mean it's kind of, I can't wait until it won't just be words on a scrolling chat, that you're not just a picture on my screen, and then we get to shake hands and we get to play games together again. And I cannot wait for that time, because that is, as Larry said, that's the best part of our job.
Easily.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's been really good. This is a good time to talk about Xbox and gaming. There's so much to be excited about. I know we're going to hear more as things go on. Studios are going to keep working. Do you have anything else to say, Jeff, Larry, before you head out? I think we've said quite a bit, but
I think, Jeff, I'm going to jump in here. Cole, I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody in the chat. We've been thanking you all along for all the great work that you and Paris and the rest of the folks are doing. We love our community. We love our super community members like yourself, and the people that are out there and talking about what we're doing and being honest with us and calling us out when we need to be called out. So I want to thank you for that. You don't see anybody from any other console or any other platform or any other game service on podcasts regularly like Jeff is, or like I am, or Phil is. So we really take it to heart when we take your feedback. We love listening to you. And again, Phil's a huge gamer. Most people at Xbox are huge gamers, and we just want to have fun and build great stuff and have amazing experiences. So I just wanted to thank you, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody in person, whenever that is.
Could not have said it better
thank
myself.
you. Why don't you give a shout out to a little plug for your huge podcast you run? When is it? Where can they find you?
Yeah, the official podcast, the official Xbox podcast that Jeff and I host. It airs gets posted every Friday. You can find it at majornelson.com/podcasts, or wherever your favorite, wherever better podcasts are available. We also do video on YouTube, and we're bringing it to other screens very, very soon. So we want to thank you for that. I mean, look, we are just another voice in the group of chorus of Xbox gamers. Jeff and I really do it as gamers. It just so happens we work there, right? So we love doing it as gamers, and that's kind of what happens. So anyway,
that's the way we catch up with each other these days.
Yeah,
so
that's a true story. Yeah. Anything else you need from us, Cole? Because this has been blast. Yeah. By the way, thank you all. All the chat. I've been reading all the chat. I saw the guy that wants Phil to get rid of me. I did see that post. So thanks, buddy.
That was me. I typed that, right? I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I'll give you your $5. You take PayPal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. It's been really fun. I really appreciate it. you guys have a really enjoyable evening, and we'll talk soon. But thank you so much for stopping by the XNC Podcast. This is Colteastwood. If you wait just a second, chat, we'll have Brad Sams. You guys know Brad Sams?
Brad's
He's
coming
gonna drop
on.
in
Brad
and talk.
Sams.
Yeah, Brad's going to come on and talk to me about more of this information that we've been talking about. He's a great guy. So, yeah, thank you so much, Larry. Jeff, thank you. You have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
Well, thank you for my friend. We will see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, see ya. All right, well, Brad Sam's upside down, and we're live with Brad Sams. Can you spin your camera?
No, that's what I was going to ask you. It's StreamYard didn't like XSplit for some reason. It wasn't picking it up.
Oh. Oh my gosh, that's great. That's great. Oh man. I'm not sure. I guess you could try dropping into a different browser. You'll be able to come right back.
Yeah, let me
But
try.
I think it's
I'm
funny.
on Firefox.
Unless you have like pull-up bars that you can hang from.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Let me see what happens if I flip to a different browser and see if it fixes it. If not, I can possibly jump onto this thing right here.
No big deal. I've got some super chats that I want to discuss with the audience while we get into that. This is great. So yeah, if you're just joining us, we had Larry Hryb and Jeff Rubenstein of Xbox to talk about Xbox bringing a huge E3 and all this stuff that's coming together. I've got some super chats that came in while the show was going. This is a weird thing for me to try and bring in two separate guests. Brad Sams is amazing. I want to bring him in. He's going to figure out how to turn his house upside down so that we can see him right side up. But Achievement says, great milestone. Good to see the three of you together. KTX Games says, have to come back for the video on demand. My kid's in bed. I know how that is. Just wanted to stop in and show the support for Colt and the team. Both teams are on fire. Kid Smooth says, what's up, Colt? Awesome panel. Major Nelson, Rubes, as we call him. Will we see more FPS boost updates in the near future? Oh, that's a good one, Kid Smooth, because they've given us probably 90-some, almost 100, and we haven't heard in a couple weeks. They've been doing E3. Let me fix my layout as he does that. We will go like this. There we go. Hey, this is thank you so much to the over 1,100 people here who are here live to hear me talk for a minute while we get Brad in. The super chats came in while the show was going, and I stuck to the questions that I wanted to ask Major Nelson and Jeff Rubenstein. So thank you so much for that. We've got Dark CMF says, great show. Colt, Larry, Jeff, thanks for making the time for all of us. Is there any remote possibility of the Saboteur coming backward compatible? Dark CMF, I wish. It's a Pandemic Studios game, which is no longer around. The licensing may not be mendable, I guess. I love that game. It's on Game Pass on PC, though, so why not bring it to console? I think that would be great. Let's see. What else do we have? We have Virgin SSD Slot. Well, I shouldn't have read that name. He said, I don't know about anybody else, but I've watched the Redfall trailer about 100 times. The art style blows my mind, and yeah, vampires. Art style is in cinematic CGI, but as Brad Sams popped in, I think that game looks a lot better than what I thought there we go. What I thought a vampire game would be.
I gotta move something. 1 second.
We're flying by the seat of our pants. It's great. There's Brad Sams will be right back. But thank you so much for everybody showing up. This is the XNC Podcast. We are on YouTube, and we are also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Pocket Podcasts on demand. That show goes up about an hour or so after the show ends here. So thank you so much. I see Punkadis in the chat. My great moderators, Underachiever, Lethal Papa, Obi-Wan, Happy Bomb, and Sean the Bree, as well as all the superstars that showed up. All of your names, everybody that I see here I recognize, and they're all superstars, but thank you so much. Brad, how are you doing as you get comfortable? Welcome to the show.
I want to give a big shout out to Larry and Jeff for being my opening act. It's not too often that
they said hi, by the way. I told them you were coming on. They were really okay. Good.
I haven't caught up with those guys. I mean, it's just like everybody else in the world. I miss like those in the moment, like you see each other in a hallways type conversations, and I miss just like literally everybody in the industry at this point.
Yeah. We've all been just making do on social media and Teams meetings, right?
Yeah.
So let me grab a couple of these super chats, and maybe
sure.
Brad will be able to interact with some of these. Hargit Chani says, Larry and Jeff on XNC, where's Rebecca? Rebecca works on the Minecraft team, so I'm going to reach out to her and get her on the show. Hope there's a business hardware-focused presentation. Elite Series 3, that'd be cool. Acquisitions. Brad, are there any acquisitions in the rumor mill coming your way?
Oh, man. I mean, there's like acquisitions are such a funny thing to talk about because Microsoft at this point is talking to everybody. Everybody is on the agenda. Now, it's how those conversations go from like, hey, you want to put your stuff into Game Pass, or like, should we buy you? We know directly from Phil Spencer that they are looking more for that casual content kind of acquisition. So I've heard conversations are happening, but candidly, I have no idea how far along any of this stuff is. And like at this point, it's so hard to understand, like from an outsider's perspective, it's like, are they talking about Game Pass or are they talking about like buying the studio? Because those are like, a lot of wires get crossed when you hear conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Relating to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, that is true. When we think acquisitions, we think Xbox is going to buy a studio, but they're really interested in giving Xbox gamers more things to play, and then that'll always be on Game Pass if they make a deal.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got a Boogeyman. IXI says, love the work you guys do at Xbox, Larry and Jeff. I hope they listen to this after the fact. They'll get all their compliments they deserve. Your work's doing well with the channel, Colt, and much love to the chat as well. Chat's amazing. You guys are having a conversation. They're excited. Decimator808 says, hey, Colt, I just got here. Love the Halo theme. Is the anthem of all gamers. Stand up and charge. I love the Halo song. Dark Sienna says, hey guys, great E3. Have a great show. And by any chance, any fighting games in the pipeline? Thanks. Brad, are you hearing about any Killer Instinct returns or?
Ooh, man. So the one thing that, and I can't, this is me reading way too many tea leaves, but Killer Instinct was one of the first titles to get updated to support touch controls on the Surface Duo. So Microsoft very clearly knows that there's something there, because the Surface Duo touch controls for cloud gaming used to be like the D-pad and the A button and all that stuff. And then they eventually updated it to support more custom like iconography and everything else. So Microsoft's aware of Killer Instinct. They're definitely not ignoring that by any means.
That's good to hear. Wow. Okay. I hear a lot about, we talked to Ricari Austin about a year and a half ago, and he had heard that there just wasn't much going on anywhere to do with Killer Instinct. It kind of got people a little bummed out, but
yeah, I mean,
a big thing that
again,
needs to
like,
stay on there.
You know, you hear so many things through it. I think if you went to anybody, especially on that team, and said, "Hey, you guys want to reboot Killer Instinct?" Yeah, everybody would say yes. And then it's like, can you go to management and get, I don't know, $100 million to do it? Slightly different question. So.
I just realized I should put a break on the show for a second. Brad and I have never actually met. We've talked behind the scenes quite a bit. Let me take a second and say, hi, Brad. I'm Colt.
We just rolled into it. I love it. I love it.
Normally we'd be in the green room talking before the show and get a chance to kind of get acquainted over a camera, but this is our chance. I've been watching Brad's content. He started doing his content in full about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, it kind of dribbled. Like, I mean, I've been not in and out, but like well, first off, I bought my first Xbox, the OG Xbox from a Blockbuster. Whenever those things came out, and I've been playing Xbox for a long time. And then I was really heavily involved in the Microsoft scene, specifically like Windows. And that just kind of bled over into Xbox. And I'd been legit writing about the Xbox for just years. And then I have a podcast that I do every Friday, and that really started catching momentum. And then like kind of the natural evolution, almost sort of inverse to what you did, Colt, where you had awesome content videos and then kind of rolled into a podcast. I had a podcast, and then the problem would be coming, like I learned something on a Tuesday. And then I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs like, how do I get to Friday to do this podcast? And so somebody said, like, why don't you just do like bite size, your Xbox deep dives or whatever that comes out during the week, and then on the Friday you just wrap everything up. And I was like, all right, like why not? That sounds like fun. And so yeah, 2 years is probably about right. Yeah.
So you've been doing these videos like on the moment, and
Yes.
and my friends and I kind of have an inside joke that the news, I don't know where you live. Are you on the East Coast?
I'm in Cincinnati, so I'm technically East Coast time zone.
Okay, East Coast-ish.
Yeah.
We have this joke that like the news will break when I'm still in bed. Like I haven't gotten out of bed, and then Brad has a video up. I'm like, oh my gosh, Brad rolled out of bed and busted out a video because you'll break the news so quick. And you've broken a couple things, pretty big things.
Just a couple.
What are the what are the big highlights that you've broke over this past year or so?
Oh, I mean,
Indulge
the
us.
one that got my hand slapped pretty hard was like the Xbox Series S. Like that was a big part of it, but there was a lot of stuff leading up to it, just through the X and all that stuff. I think my first big Xbox leak was, it was before they launched the Scorpio, or maybe right around then. The Xbox One X. I had a picture of that too sent to me by little birds, and all that stuff, and the Xbox Series S or One S, I think, was in there as well. The past year, though, I think, if there's one thing that I'm most proud of in the past 12 months, it's the mini fridge. Easy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like
So
I was the Skittles thing was going on, and they're head to head, and I'm just laying there in bed. I'm like, I just tweeted at Aaron,
that's right.
I was like, Aaron, give us a mini fridge if we beat Skittles. It turns out Aaron
It's
made
almost
it happen.
like you willed it into existence. I don't know if people know the story, but yeah, to reset it, Aaron Greenberg was helping this Skittles versus Xbox poll that was going on, and I remember I forgot this for a few minutes, but I remember Brad replied, "Give us the mini fridge, and we'll help you win the poll." And it was like you willed it into existence from that moment. That tweet had to have a huge response.
Oh, it just went crazy. And then Aaron and I are gonna have to get together sometime and recreate the story. But we've chatted back and forth since then. And apparently, like, he saw the tweet, he just like picked up all the phones he could. He's like, "Who's the management that can get on to approve?"
You did.
All of, and like 25 minutes later, he's like, "It's done." And I was like, "What?" And that was like the only message I got from him. And then I saw him tweet out, he's like, "We will build the mini fridge if we beat Skittles." This was like midnight here, and I'm laughing my butt off in bed, and my wife like just starts stirring and looking at me at like middle of the night, just going like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "There's gonna be a mini fridge built," and she's like, "You're an idiot."
This is the stuff that means the most to you at 11 o'clock at night when you should be sleeping. You're on the phone. In the chat, I see Zocker87 says, "Brad, can you will Rise 2 into existence?"
Rise 2. Oh,
please,
man.
Chat,
There's
write
so
in
many
your
of those
request
games.
for Brad Sams to will into existence a game for Xbox, and he'll take something into consideration and do his magic.
Oh, man. The other game I'd like to will into existence, although we're going to kind of get it. So I was and this like jumps many generations. 1080, I think it was called 1080 snowboarding on Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Just played the crap out of that thing. And then there was the Amped series on Xbox. And I think they got to Amped 2. I can't remember when that generation stopped. And now we're getting a game called Shredders that's coming. And I got to tell you, like, there was a lot of good stuff at E3, but I saw that, I was like, oh, man, like I hope it's like that real simple gameplay mechanic. And that is probably one of the biggest games I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I played that one. Was that on the PlayStation as well? I played that in Cool Borders, I think.
Been. I mean, dude, we're talking probably 10 years at this point.
Oh, yeah, longer than that, but yeah. Old Dirty Gamer says, "Ask Major Nelson to ask Phil to buy X Screen and make it first party for Series S, please." Oh, I was going to say, what in the heck is that? But do you know what X Screen is?
I do not.
Have you I think you've tweeted. X Screen is basically it's a white box the size of a Series S with a flip up.
Oh, yeah. Like the
monitor
mobile
that
version of it.
Clicks into we're on camera, we can do hand motions like this, yeah. It's a Kickstarter, so you've seen this.
Yes, I have seen. I've seen. I didn't recognize the name, but yeah, that's a super interesting idea. But I like. So like the front of my brain's like, yes, that would be sweet. In the back of my brain, they're going like, they're just going to tell you to get cloud gaming. Like that's what they're going to tell you to do. They're going to like, get a screen that's connected to the internet, and you got all these games there anyways.
Yeah, I'm sure they just want somebody to make sure that it actually gets off the ground, and then you could buy one. But yeah, Eternal Shut Eye says, "Great job, Colt. I have a question for the panel. So that would be Brad Sams. After a great show at E3 and being clear to the audience, will we see E3 22 to saying to the Xbox fan base what is fully exclusive and which is timed exclusive? Did you notice this, Brad? They didn't do a lot of time. I think in the past they had.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I know everybody said like E3 was great for Microsoft, and I'm here to like completely regurgitate that because I really think it was. I think this was one of their it was a clean showcase. And what I mean by that was there wasn't a lot of ambiguity about like where the direction Microsoft was headed, like what is going on with the hardware. Like we got the hardware launch out and behind us, which is great, although still seems like based on my Twitter feed, half the planet can't get one, which I hear you. Yeah. They're hard to get. But it was a really clean presentation. I mean, right out of the back, they're like 30 games being showed, 27 are coming to Game Pass, and that's all you need to know. Just sit back and just like let it, absorb into your smooth brain, the whole presentation. But the timed exclusive thing is really interesting because like what are like the dichotomies of like how Colt and I look at the industry? Like we look at it two different ways, which is why I think we're like a good pairing, because Colt does like really awesome deep dives into games, which is honestly something I don't do a ton of. I love like the business and like the mechanics side of Microsoft. Like how is Xbox going to be here in 30 years type scenario, like type questions. Mm-hmm. And so when people talk about timed exclusives, Microsoft somewhere in their data set knows that when a game comes into Game Pass, they're going to get a nice arc of people, and they know when people are going to fall off. And so like how long things are in Game Pass is going to become like a fine art to Microsoft, because they know that, let's say it's in their 2 months, they might not get a bump in users or players, but if it's in their 6 months, then they know like the magic formula of how long content needs to come in from third parties to keep Game Pass feeling fresh. And like we don't know that answer yet. And so people ask all the time, I'm sure you get it too. It's like, well, when is X game coming in or when is it leaving? It's like Microsoft still has kind of, I think, figuring this out and trying to understand like how they're going to build this out is like just really fascinating to me.
Yeah, and I think when you look at how they can gauge that, they've had quite a bit of experience doing that, because a lot of the games that they put in have done really, really well. There's been a lot of engagement, and when you say like I do deep dives on hardware or games, I love that about this community. Like there's always a creator that provides the full picture. When you if somebody watched a Brad Sams video and they watch a Dealer Gaming video and a Randall Thor video, at the end of the week they're getting everything they need to know. These content creators are phenomenal. That's the Game Pass thing. I think they're learning quite a bit of great lessons.
But did you see the news that came out today? The hire, she's famous. Oh gosh, I wrote a post about
Kim Swift.
Yes. So this idea is completely
my brain's working today.
Yeah. Well, I was like, she did a bunch of stuff on Portal, and it's cloud native gaming. And to me, this is a Microsoft. Several years ago, Microsoft, you could look at them and say their Xbox direction was a little befuddled. And this is primarily like right before Phil Spencer took over, when they launched the Xbox One. Now they have this crystal clear vision of what they're doing, right? And that's what we saw like 2 weeks ago, or was it 10 days ago, when they did that media and analyst day, and they showed us off. They showed the media and myself like their business strategy plan going forward. Then we got E3. And now we get this news that they're working on cloud native experiences. But Microsoft is quite possibly the only company on the planet right now that has a bunch of game studios, has a global cloud infrastructure, has world-renowned IP in the gaming space. Also, say by the end of the year, they will have mobile or cloud gaming on just about every single endpoint. And now they tell us, oh yeah, we're going to build games that are cloud native, that sit on top of this massive infrastructure to unlock experiences that we haven't been able to do before. Sony could put all the components together. Stadia kind of had it, but then they closed it down. Mm-hmm. Amazon maybe, but they don't seem like they're willing to dump the billions like Microsoft is into this. Microsoft's going to be the only company that can build these cloud native games, which is the news that we got today, that span all these endpoints and potentially unlock unique experiences. Like, let me throw this at you, Colt. Let me throw this. I heard this like a long time ago. It's like a vision and planning session. Imagine you're playing a game on your console and the phone rings in the game, and then your phone rings in your pocket.
Okay.
It's possible. That's what that's honestly what I think they're going towards, is because they'll be able to touch multiple endpoints because they'll know that you have a cloud gaming app installed on your phone. Well, you're playing a game that's cloud native. All of a sudden, when something happens in game, they can simulate that potentially through an endpoint in reality because you're already part of that cloud native network. Like, it's really interesting, the possibilities that this type of experience that Microsoft is building out could be coming to Xbox. It's crazy.
So what does cloud native mean, Brad? What does that mean? It's a game that'll only be on xCloud? Explain to the audience.
Potentially. So, like, here's how gaming is kind of built today. This isn't a perfect analogy, and I'm probably going to get some people saying, no, that's wrong. But let's say you build a game on this PC, and then I smash it onto a disc, and then I put that disc in your console. Now, that game can only access the resources, like the amount of storage, the amount of RAM, the amount of compute in that console that's right there. Now, when you build things in the cloud, you build them with, a term that's often used as elastic. So imagine you're a developer and there's like 17,000 explosions on screen, but you're seeing like, I'm hitting the peak capacity of the Series X processor. Well, in the cloud, that's not an issue. You have elastic resources for those needs, meaning you can create unique experiences because you have effectively unlimited amount of compute at your disposal. So then you can unlock unique experiences. This isn't a great example, but what was it? It was Crackdown, was it 3? That had that Azure component that was sort of...
That's a horrible example.
I know, it is. But that's where Microsoft cut their teeth on this. They said, we got to figure this out, and how are we going to do it? But that's the infancy of what can be done, is where you have like the local gameplay happening, but then streaming down in real time are just elements that are enhancing the gameplay that are not possible because either the game would be a terabyte in size or it would just max out the CPU, because you can use the cloud as a resource and not like a place where data is just transferred like it is today on multiplayer games.
Well, that's something that I don't know if people are ready to wrap their mind around that. We're so
I
used
can barely
to
wrap my mind around it.
Right. We're used to like a contained thing. If my PC is strong enough, I know I'm going to be able to play these type of games.
Right.
Or if I have a console, I know those games are going to work.
Microsoft's already they've already sort of cracked that nut that you just talked about. I mean, they announced, was it last week, that Xbox One consoles will be able to stream, I think they said Flight Sim. So it already starts to break apart like what is possible on a traditional console via the cloud.
Yeah, it doesn't leave anybody behind either.
Yep.
I want to get a couple of these questions in here before we move on to the next thing here. Fahim Ahmed said, Colt, love the podcast. E3 was awesome, but Sony's going to come back with a great show. There's rumor they're going to do PlayStation Experience. Mm-hmm. Do Brad and you think Xbox will be able to keep up with Sony's shows?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's at the end of the day, gamers are the one who win. Microsoft, what I don't think people realize, and actually it came out from the New York Times did a relatively good job on this. They said Microsoft isn't leaving consoles behind, but they're leaving the console mentality of gaming behind. Meaning they're going to continue to invest in consoles because they know that is where their most dedicated and hardcore gamers are. But Microsoft's like, hey, we're just building great, awesome games for our ecosystem, meaning Game Pass or Xbox as a whole. Comparing them directly one-to-one to Sony, it's always going to be subjective. Maybe a couple years ago, you might have been like, yeah, Sony's just killing it. They've got all these exclusives. Everything's going on. Microsoft, since that point in time, has bought 12.5 studios, have put billions of dollars into this. So there's always going to be this dichotomy of Sony is doing one thing because they have their own exclusive IP, as they should. I mean, you can even lump Nintendo in there. But the thing is, I think that's most important. Last generation, I believe the Xbox got outsold roughly 2-1. Microsoft is very confident that gap is going to shrink this generation. The fact that Xbox isn't being further left behind, but is now gaining on what is considered the class leader, PlayStation, is a win for everybody. That means we're going to get better games, better experiences, and everybody who has a console is just going to get to have more fun, which is what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's right. There are a lot of different games. There's quite a bit of diversity too.
Yes,
we talked about that with Larry and and with Jeff, where there's like a different type of game for everybody. There is one game that I want to talk about, Brad, that's way off topic, but comes in from this question.
Yep.
That Everwild recently
yeah.
got rebooted. Have you heard about this? Apparently,
Yeah,
the
this was-
project manager.
Yes, oh gosh, this is based off of. Oh god, isn't this based off like 10 years ago, something like that, like a book or something along that line?
Oh, I don't know about that, but
I cannot remember. But geez, I'm trying to think back. I've got random memories and neurons in my head that are connecting that have not connected in a long time. I was actually going to pull it up to see exactly what.
Let me say.
Yep.
Let me say real quick. This is from Cade Forever that said, "Why the Everwild reboot? Wouldn't it be best to just cancel it and move on to a game, a different game?" I guess he's saying. Let's be honest, that Rare fans actually want. So, Brad, tell us about what you've heard about this reboot of Everwild and your opinion on the situation.
So I think you hit it. Actually, we can paraphrase what was said earlier, that they want a game that is for. They want Game Pass to have just a multitude of genres and everything else. And I think, given based off of the art style that they're approaching with this, I think they're trying to go for a different audience. I don't think it's not smart of them to reboot this. I think Microsoft put a lot of money into acquiring these studios, acquiring their heritage, and quite honestly, we've heard from Phil Spencer a lot, just to trust the studios to make the right decision. He said it in various different ways, and I strongly suspect that they came back and said, Phil, look, we've got this IP, we've got this idea, we've got this art style, we've got this direction, let's run with it. And I honestly think Phil was probably just like, all right, I trust you guys to do the right thing, and that's how we ended up where we are.
So what I heard was that the original director had a more non-combat focused game, like a world building or a world management with wildlife and resources, and a shift was made to make a more combat focused or bring combat into the game. So they're kind of retooling it, going back to the drawing board and building something that maybe is more widely. It's such a crummy thing when you think about it, right, Brad? Like,
yeah, I know where you're headed.
Rare makes some really interesting, quirky games that have always really resonated well with the game community for 25 plus years. And then when they come up with something like Everwild, where at first, me personally, I look at it, I'm like, do I even want to play that? But that leaves out the millions and millions that this could be like a big genre-defining game or whatever it is. I don't know. Like, where do you sit on that?
Well, see,
that's kind of a
part of me is like, on one hand, it's if game studios didn't take risks or even try to change things in the slightest, what we would end up is with Call of Duty and Madden. That is like the only two games that would be in existence.
Or a crossover of both.
Yeah, or wasn't there a game called like NFL Blitz? It was kind of like a crossover, but like
yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, way back in the day, I remember playing the arcade games and smashing those buttons. The thing is especially in the North American market, combat is a very tried and true mechanic that sells. The games like Minecraft are statistically pretty much an outlier in the industry. That's why it's such a huge success. Like, I'm trying to think of a better acquisition for Microsoft potentially than Minecraft. I mean, it has just been a huge boon for them. And so there's been conversations like, well, how do we replicate the success of Minecraft? And the answer is you don't, because you can't, right? That's a flash in the pan. That's the perfect scenario, right timing, right place, right game mechanics, and everything else. The way you replicate success of Minecraft is honestly, I think, what they're trying to do with Forza Horizon, with the new, what's the new creator mode that they effectively said where you can, it's not Forge is what it is in Halo. But the
I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, you can build your own tracks and obstacle courses.
Test Lab? Is it Test Lab? I think Test Lab. Or whatever it is.
Be. But Design Lab.
Xbox Design Lab. Make a controller, play it in the game. Actually, that'd be kind of cool. I would dig that. But that's like the model that I think they're going to try to chase is let's let let's give environments where creators can do things, but more specifically, there needs to be an economy around it. It doesn't necessarily have to be actual, here, Colt makes $5, but the fact that we can put Colt potentially on a pedestal and show off his goods either in-game or outside the game is the type of economy that Microsoft wants to build that exists very heavily in the Minecraft world. We've now seen that in Forza, and now we're going to start to see that move into other games. And we got way off topic from Everwild, but
Events Lab says Evan, but I think you did say Events Lab somewhere in there.
Test Lab, Events Lab, something like that.
Events Lab, and Underachiever says Events Lab, but we got it. I guess
that type of mechanic in Microsoft's ecosystem is going to become a much more common. I'm really honestly surprised, and maybe it's coming, that Sea of Thieves doesn't have a true model or economy like this yet. I mean, we're going to see a big update here with the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. That was a huge announcement from Microsoft, by the way. I can't imagine how much licensing conversations had to go on to bring all that together.
Imagine but that's the paperwork. I
was gonna be like, you want to do what with Johnny? Yeah, that's exactly what they want to do. I'm just really hoping that they didn't there's got to be a line in there that's like, why is the rum gone? If it's not, I'm going to be upset. But that's definitely got to be part of that whole package. But I think Sea of Thieves has a creator economy potential like Minecraft does as well.
Okay. Dark CMF says, okay, Brad, you made the mini fridge happen. We need a matching microwave.
Yeah, we do. We need the whole
this is the Series S microwave.
Oh my God. In 5 years from now, you're going to go to your local grocery store, and there's just going to be an Xbox section of Lunchables, and you just walk in, you throw it in there, you can store it in your mini fridge at home, pull it out, put it into your microwave, and then just be done with it. Or maybe it's on your silverware and everything else. So
you will need a mini meal to fit it in that small little mini fridge.
Yes.
Though. That thing is super tiny. How much is that mini fridge going to cost customers, do you think, Brad?
I bet it's $199. That's my guess. And this is a complete guess, by the way. I have no insights into the manufacturing cost of a mini refrigerator.
Even though you made it happen.
Yeah. I'm good at wishing. I'm not good at doing a bill of materials for an item such as that. And plus, we don't how many of these things do you think they're going to build? I think they announced that they're shipping worldwide, I think.
That could be a big deal. I mean, I was thinking it would be about 150. Because when I think about for 500, you get an actual console. You're just going to have to guess. We're not Bob Barker, but we'll make it work.
I mean, you say that the one thing, this is a 10 GTX 1080, but I mean, this thing was $1,000 when it launched, and it's not even a console. It's just a GPU. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not Bob Barker. I missed that line, but that's awesome.
Lars Hansen says, so games built from the ground up for the cloud are the future of Xbox? And is Xbox Series X the last console?
I don't think it's the last console.
Lars? I don't think so either. Well, I mean, they've said as much. The Xbox presser the week or the days before E3, they said they are focusing on xCloud, and they are in development for the next console to come out in the coming years, I think was their phrase. Yes, there will be another console. Brad, let me ask you, I don't want to talk about xCloud too much. We actually talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those out there things, but I want to get your take. Do you think in the next 10 years, streaming games will become more normalized? As far as where it'll feel more natural and more people might just say, oh, I'll just load that game up on my TV because it works fine. Do you think the infrastructure and everything will get more, I don't know what the word is, but it'll just feel...
It's a really good question, because part of me is saying, but the back of my mind is, I think the better way to phrase it, at least in my mind, it's going to become more accessible, because cloud gaming, or whatever you want to call it, in 10 years is going to be everywhere. The challenge is that Microsoft and even Stadia and all those guys, they're really good. They got to 98.5% where it feels really good, but that last 1.5% is extremely difficult. For example, right now, one of the things Microsoft hasn't launched that I'm pretty sure they're working on is a controller that just connects directly to Wi-Fi. That's one of the things that Stadia does. I think Luna has a controller that does that as well, that helps reduce that latency. I don't know if this falls into that bucket of stuff where they said, hey, we're building new streaming hardware, but when it say what it was, I think we'll eventually get there. But But then the other part of me is like, in the back of my mind is like, man, I'm always going to plop my butt down and turn on the console, and like that's going to be my preferred way of gaming for a very long time.
I think once you can connect your Xbox controller to your smart TV,
Yeah,
that some of that friction might go away, right?
yeah,
I know when you think about I really don't want to talk about it too much. I'm not really interested personally. I don't play on the go. If I'm out, I'm with my family, kids.
Yep.
I'm not gaming at that moment. So, but if you could just load up your controller on your on your TV and just play, that'd be really cool. Or go in the other room.
it really would
that's
be.
coming. So
Yeah,
that's coming. Let's see. We got Decimator 808 says we need an X microwave, and the glass is chef's visor color and sitting next to the X fridge. So at this point, people are just dreaming up their kitchen setup for the Xbox. Tanzif Raman says Bethesda modding is also great for the creative community.
yes,
Yeah, they have quite a few more mods available on the Xbox platform
Mm-hmm.
compared to PlayStation because of the allotment that Sony allows.
yeah.
Any news? Julian says, any news on CrossfireX? Yes, I'm hearing things. Brad, have you heard anything about Remedy finishing this campaign
this
first-person shooter game?
So candidly, I probably should, because I play an unhealthy amount of Warzone, and I'm very much looking forward to Battlefield. And the Crossfire is also on there because, again, I'm me, and I know that I enjoy first-person shooters. And if there's going to be a game that I'm going to like, it's going to be a first-person shooter. We know that it's supposed to be coming this year. That's correct. Does that sound about right? I thought it was supposed to come in 2021.
That's what was planned.
Okay.
I guess I could say I'm hearing, but let me just say it so nobody gets in trouble. My prediction is that it is being asked for more time. Things are difficult right now with teams like Remedy that are working from home, separated from the studio. So let's just predict that they're asking for more time, because otherwise we would see it in the pipeline for Xbox's graphic where they put all the videos on their games on screen. So I think CrossfireX would probably be pushed out into early 2022, maybe even later. You know, Remedy's making a whole campaign, like a Call of Duty Battlefield style campaign with their touch, with you can turn invisible or cloak and all kinds of cool stuff. So that will be right up your alley, Brad.
Yeah, that's
we're yet to see it.
That's exactly the type of game that I play. Between that, well, actually, there's like 3 types of games that I play. I play a lot of. I played an unhealthy amount of Apex Legends. I'm now playing an unhealthy amount of Warzone. I play golf games, usually with some old buddies. We're just cracking beers and just enjoying time. Those are probably the 2 big ones. And then, of course, I play Madden. Right around the football season. I actually tweeted out a couple days ago. I was like, man, I'm ready for football to come back. That's like as Madden was downloading from Game Pass. I was just trying to get my fix in.
Wow. I mean, that's funny. You're shooting the heck out of people in Apex and Call of Duty, and then putt.
Golf. Dude, I love golf. Like, I watched, there was the U.S. Open was on the weekend. I played a ton of Tiger 2012, and then EA, as they've done I think with NHL, they just kind of gave up on the franchise. Like, they launched a Rory game, and then now I think they've announced a new game that's coming, I think next year, maybe. Could be wrong on that, but yeah, just a nice little thing. And then we've also, oh god, there's so many games that I want, like Flight Sim, right? That's coming this summer. And then I think Microsoft snuck into my house and they said, what is like the perfect combination for Brad? And they said, well, he really likes Top Gun. He really likes playing Flight Sim on his PC. Why don't we just ram them together and then he will just die? And that's pretty much what I did when I saw that during E3.
Oh, but that's going to be so cool. People are kind of different about Flight Sim because it's just a flying game, but then they throw that Top Gun thing in there and you're like, F-18 Hornet? Yeah. So, did you hear the slight... Yeah, did you hear the slight hint? Yeah, aircraft carriers. They said that they have another plane to announce, but they're not talking about it right now, and they had Maverick and the F-18. Did you put 2 and 2 together?
I did not.
I think they're trying to hint that, yes, they'll put the Tomcat, the F-14 Tomcat in the game.
I think
I would hope. They have to, because you got to pull those wings out and call the ball, Maverick. Call the ball. We can sit here and do the Top Gun.
Here's the thing. With that game that I'm really looking forward to. So obviously playing it, I've played it quite a bit on my PC. And my PC, which is my primary desktop rig, is a RTX 2070 Super and a 7900X. It's a pretty decent machine. But I'm really curious to see how the graphical performance on a high-end PC compares to the Series X, because we've had games that kind of cross over, but this is a Microsoft title running on the Series X in 4K. I'm just curious how it's going to align to, or how close it is to a high-end PC. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I've seen some benchmarks, but like at ultra high settings, and the FPS numbers aren't very impressive with like 3080s and 3090s.
Yeah.
So the choice, I'm not thrilled about 30 FPS, but I think the choice to have that game look great at 30 when you're flying,
Yeah.
I hope that works out on the console, but that's a tough game to run.
It is.
Yeah. Adrian Fernandez says, any thoughts on Game Pass family subscription? We have 3 Series X consoles in my household and have to pay for 2 Game Pass Ultimate subscriptions. I had heard they were readying family subscriptions. Brad, have you heard any whispers about this? I
Yes.
thought Phil had talked about this.
It's so Microsoft is trying. I don't want to say trying to figure it out, because I think that undersells what Microsoft is trying to do, because that means that they don't understand the market or they don't understand what's going on. Microsoft, I can very clearly tell you, is loud, has heard all the feedback that, hey, there are families out there that need multiple Game Pass subscriptions, and they don't want to be spending, $70, $80 a month to make it happen for their family. And so Microsoft is working on something. I don't quite know when it's going to launch. There's I don't know if it plays into this particular scenario, but licensing has been a really tough thing for Microsoft to nail down. With backwards compatibility coming forward, it's like, hey, we have the rights to put it on a console, but did we have the rights to put it into a streaming service? And then you put it into a streaming service, and then you put on multiple users from a same account. Like, it gets a lot of paperwork involved and all that stuff. And I don't know if that ties into this at all. But there should be, at some point, they are working on a family Game Pass subscription. I know that.
Yeah, I thought we would have heard something by now, but it also ties into, is Xbox eventually going to remove Gold, Xbox Live Gold, Brad? What's your prediction?
I don't think they will, because can you know how much money they're going to be giving up? Right, Microsoft just spent a ton. We know it, $7.5 billion for Bethesda, and people are paying for Gold. It was built into the system. It's something that we're all accustomed to. Yes, it's not very expensive, and it makes more sense. And Microsoft absolutely wants you into Game Pass. But Amy Hood, the CFO of Microsoft, I can't imagine Phil going and be like, hey, I know we just spent all this money on this stuff. We're building out these games that cost hundreds of millions of dollars. And we have data centers that cost billions of dollars to build out that we're going to use. But we think we should get rid of Gold because of whatever the reason is. And the business justification to dump that cash flow is really tough, I think. Really tough.
Yeah, what is that revenue stream? I don't know how many. We don't know how many Gold members there are, but
no, we don't.
It's a couple. It's like $1 billion a year, something like that.
It's not insubstantial, because we knew at one point they said the last. I could be off on this slightly, but one of the last earnings calls where they told us Xbox Live numbers, it was like around a holiday. They said they had 100 million Xbox Live customers. Now that doesn't mean Gold customers,
yeah,
but you'd have to think that a decent chunk is probably Gold, right? A decent chunk, and they're paying roughly $8 a month when you do it out over a year, $7-8 a month or something like that, maybe even a little less. That adds up really quick, and that's monthly revenue. That's tough to give up. I can't. The only thing I see them doing is potentially like merging it further somehow with, but they already have Game Pass Ultimate at $15. I don't know. I don't think they can. I don't think they'd come out and just say it's done. You no longer need to pay for it. What did we get? We got free to play games are now free, and they unlocked Party Chat with it too. I haven't not had a
Party Chat and free to play is now unlocked and free and clear. Yes.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine they were taking advantage of too many consumers with that, but it's a really good thing that they remedied that. The other thing is the projection. There's this rumor that Game Pass could reach a certain number. I'm not on board with this number. I don't think it's possible, but there's this rumor They just announced they're at 18 million Game Pass subscribers as of June 2021. And the rumor behind the scenes is that Xbox is targeting 30 million by November or holiday of 2021. What's your best analytical, mathematical trajectory on that?
So I'm not saying that number's wrong, but let me put some context into just Microsoft as an example. Microsoft's fiscal year end is actually in 9 days. It's the 30th. It's June 30th. So a lot of their milestones are tied to June 30th dates. So when my initial gut is like, when I hear Christmas time and it's 30 million, that's not potentially wrong. And I don't know if it's crazy to say it's going to happen or not happen, but a lot of their bigger milestones in the company, just from a like, hey, Phil, if you hit this milestone, you're going to get X amount of shares, or whatever bonus, whatever you want to call it across the org, are tied to June 30, not Christmas or typically January 1.
Oh, okay.
So just put that in your back pocket. I don't know if that's related to this or not. The unknown here is honestly, I think, console availability, at least in my mind. Because, for example, this no joke happened like 4 days ago. A good friend of mine said he got his hands on a Series X finally after, I think, waiting in line. And he said, what game should I buy? And I said, you take $15, you put it into Game Pass, and that's what you do. Because if you could go out and buy 6 games, you're going to be way in over it. And he wasn't tied to any genre or anything else like that. Where I'm headed with this is I think a lot of their new Game Pass subscriber growth is going to come from people net new, meaning people who've never had an Xbox console, buying an Xbox. I think that is their best opportunity. And so the question becomes, how many consoles can they sell to that demographic potentially this fall? Because I think that's going to be a direct correlation to how much Game Pass can grow. I think is the formula.
So do you think that the console shortage has hindered their plans to grow a certain amount, or are they seems like they're still on the up and up regardless?
Yeah, I don't know if, I mean, honestly, it's a really interesting thought. Like, did this chip shortage and the lack of consoles, because at one point they said they thought by June consoles would be back to, like, you can just walk into Best Buy and grab 5 if you want and walk out the door. That is, I think we can all agree, that is not the case. So yeah. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that console sales shortages have potentially impacted Game Pass growth, because I think that's where it's going to come from. You buy the new console. Does Microsoft give away Game Pass with a console? I can't remember. 2-week trial or something like that? I bet they do.
At least a 1 or 2 week trial with a new console purchase. Let us know in the chat if you remember. I've actually seen a lot of people sharing that they're picking up an Xbox Series X this past week on social media. So let me know in the chat if your console, if you remember, if it came with a card with 2 weeks of Game Pass. I think it does. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, even PlayStation is saying don't expect this problem to alleviate until next summer.
Yeah,
which that's really super unfortunate.
Long horizon. I mean, that is which makes you wonder, because I think the PlayStation 4, it's past 100 million in sales, but for whatever reason, I think a lot of us have in our mind that, like, when you hit 100 million sales, that means you had an excellent generation. Well, if PS5, let's say, takes like 18 months to get to like a sustainable place, is that going to impact that? More importantly, anybody who's followed consoles for a while knows that typically around like 1 year, we see like a $50 price cut. We're not going to see that price cut. I would be very shocked if we did.
What, in a year you said?
Yeah.
You see a price cut?
Typically around, like, so we had the one holiday season. I think it was the last gen Xbox, maybe because they weren't selling because of the Kinect fiasco. But I believe they did a $50 price cut, not exactly on the anniversary date of the launch, but it was around that time. But let's say PlayStation 5 isn't in stock until summer next time this year. Like, they're not going to be cutting the price on that thing at all. It would be crazy to generate more demand when you can't even fulfill what you've already got.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's ever going to be consoles sitting on a pallet in a Target, or you can't even find 3 of them sitting in that little case. Yeah, hey, if you're just joining us, this is the XNC Podcast, or longly spoken of as the Xbox Newscast Podcast, and I'm the host, Colteastwood. I'm here with Brad Sams, who runs Phenomenal Gaming and Microsoft and Xbox news channel and tech channel. Actually, I guess I could just keep adding all of the adjectives and nouns to everything that Brad Sams covers. He has up-to-the-minute news. When news breaks in the morning, he's there with a video. So wave to the audience. Brad, you're doing a great job. It's good to have him here. Thank you to the over 1,200 people who are watching us live talk about where Xbox is heading. Brad, this is a really exciting time for gamers right now. If you're on Xbox, you've had this wait time of the past few years where they've had one or two great games, and there's been this long period of where they're waiting for Xbox game studios to get off the ground. Where is Xbox right now? Where are you seeing them?
So at a very interesting time in Phil Spencer's strategy is where Microsoft or Xbox is right now, because Phil Spencer came on board. He had an idea, right? Well, the first thing he had to do was establish the foundation of Xbox One. He had to try to turn that existing ship into the direction that it eventually went, which was dropping Kinect and launching the Scorpio and greenlighting all that stuff. But what we are seeing now is Phil Spencer's vision from many years ago coming to market, meaning he was able to build the most powerful console. He was also able to build the most cost-effective console. He was also able to bring gaming to the cloud. He was also able to launch a subscription service. And these things are very much in their infancy. I know Game Pass has been around for a little bit, but I think we can make a pretty strong argument that it wasn't really exciting until maybe 12 months ago or something like that. And so we are right in this genesis point where Phil Spencer just dropped his cards on the table at the poker deck or the poker table and said, here's the aces I've had, been working on for 5 years. Let's see how the rest of the table plays, or let's see how the market plays out. And so now, at least my eyes are on like what happens to the Xbox growth market share. Those Game Pass numbers that you talked about trying to get to 30 million, that's going to be a huge factor in it. We already know that's part of the CEO's compensation. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, part of his annual review bonus is based on how many Game Pass subscribers there are. Not how many consoles that sold, but how many Game Pass subscribers there are.
Wow.
Yeah. And it all rolls uphill. So now the question becomes is like the strategy has been executed, but we haven't had enough time in market to understand, like, is this gonna catch fire? Is this gonna be a slow growth? Or that is what I'm watching right now. I think it's super exciting time.
That is exciting. Have you seen a change in the landscape for economics with something like Game Pass? It's a totally new concept.
Yeah.
Right now they call it the Netflix of gaming. What are you seeing for the changes of how people consume games? There's been some friction among how do I say it? People who may not be on the Xbox. They don't like Game Pass. They think it devalues the games, or it doesn't allow the developers to properly get paid because you're paying $10 a month. What's your opinion on Game Pass as we move into the near future with it?
So, like, I'll start with the downsides that I think of Game Pass, because I am... you'll see where I'm going with this. And this market isn't gone. I actually think this market will stick around. What I think we'll no longer see eventually, maybe one day, are just like the standard editions in stores. But for example, like I spent a whole bunch of money on the Halo 2. I can't even remember what the SKU was called, but it came with all the goods, right? It came in like a nice metal case. I think there was a helmet with it. And you missed some of that tactile experience of like, sitting in the car trying to open that stupid cellophane that's around the case and that experience of getting it. Yeah, exactly. Biting it, getting into the game. Like that to me is somewhat of the downside. And this is someone's going to be in like, well, Brad probably has a vinyl player in his house. I actually don't have a vinyl record player in my house. But
I mean, we missed that with, I miss it with music. Like I used to pop open the CD or the tape and unfold the lyrics while I listened. Yes. But we all missed that. But go ahead.
So that's the downside of it. But the massive benefit of it, Colt, and this is such a simple thing, is like, I'm bored. It's like it is, quote unquote, the Netflix of game. And once they start the game streaming to where you can play it instantly, it's going to be so much better that you just sit on your couch and you just scroll around and you can play anything that's in the catalog for no additional money. I think it's really realistically going to open the door to so many more potential gamers, because Microsoft said it really well. I think it was in the media and analyst thing where Phil Spencer said there was a tax to play Xbox content. And that tax was that you had to go buy this console. And this console, depending on where you are in the generation, could be $500. And he said, that's not right. He said, we got to get these games to more people. And so I'm very optimistic that the long-tailed future of Game Pass far outweighs anything else that's going to come. The other benefit, too, at least we saw it with Outriders, right? That putting a game into Game Pass is a new marketing technique for these companies. The brilliance of smart developers right now is they have a title that's coming and they say, look, we don't have $1 billion to launch a Super Bowl TV commercial or whatever. If we launch it on Game Pass on day one for however long or whatever, Microsoft will market the hell out of this for us. And so there's two dynamics here. Is like, yeah, maybe a developer doesn't get paid because they're EA or whatever, but for that indie developer who doesn't have the budget, go to Microsoft and be like, yeah, look, we'll put it in Game Pass. We'll give you some dollars based on how many people play it, and we'll tweet about it from our accounts with millions of followers. Like, it's a marketing mechanism for developers who understand the right approach to it.
Yeah, it's such a change. Let's get a little bit spicy for a second here, Brad. When you talked about Phil says, we want to take away this tax, which is buying an Xbox console. It's been so pervasive that the sales unit count of consoles is the deciding factor of which platform is winning in the console war, and how many sales of a game, like this game sold 12 million, your game only sold 4 million on your favorite platform. What does this do for the console war when Xbox says, look, we don't care if you buy a console. We hope you can get one. Because Phil even said a few years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, he said, our ultimate customer is the one that buys that one console and keeps it for as long as possible and just continues to buy and enjoy games on it.
Yeah.
Which is him saying, I don't need you to go down to Target and buy, and by the way, XNC is not sponsored by Target. I don't need you to go down to Walmart and buy the console and give me $500. Like, they just want their customers happily buying and playing new games. But with Game Pass, he's basically asking you to pay two games at full price and get 500 games at your disposal the entire year. Yeah. So what does that do for the console war, Brad? Like, you watch it from the outside. You don't get mixed into it like I do sometimes. You stay on the outside and try to keep it safe, keep your head from getting lopped off. What's it do for you for the console war?
I think it mitigates. What it does, Colt, is it disrupts that narrative from last generation of PlayStation outsold Xbox 2-1, because that metric doesn't matter. I mean, there's a good analog between, just look at the music industry, right? It used to be like, well, how many records did you sell to go platinum? Used to be what's still a thing. But now they include streams, right? They include how many times was this streamed. And so that is eventually going to be, I believe, the mechanic that kind of shifts over. But the gaming industry, candidly, is quite a bit different than the music. That, right? Colt doesn't drop 3 albums, one album every year. You're dropping one game probably every couple years, unless you got multiple studios, juggling around. But for Microsoft, they did a really smart thing. They removed themselves from that equation. And to exactly what you just said, Phil Spencer wants you to buy a console and just hold that thing as long as possible and be able to play as many games for as long as possible. The thing that I think is going to bite Sony in the butt for at least a meme is the "We believe in generations" line. Like, that is the polar. Like, there's "We believe in generations," and then Phil Spencer's like off screen over here, like going like, I don't care what generation. Like, if you can get my games to run on an Atari, then play them on Atari. Just make sure you sign up for Game Pass.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. It's funny. I mean, I'm an Xbox fan. I never claimed to be neutral. Xbox is my favorite platform, and I play the other stuff when I want to. But you just can't. I can't take a negative way of how Phil says, I don't care if you buy a console and just buy as many games as possible until the thing falls apart. You never said that part, but it is such a difference from what Jim Ryan was saying with Generations. Lars Hansen in the chat says, in the super, he says, there was a rumor a while ago, boy, this will take us off that subject, but he says, there was a rumor a while ago that Ubisoft Plus would come to Game Pass in Q4. I'm really responsible for that one, by the way. I was pushing that rumor for a little bit this spring. Any news on that rumor, or is it dead? Let's hear from, you've heard me talk about it. Brad, have you heard this rumor at all?
I have absolutely heard this rumor. It was actually pretty spicy, if you will. I want to say earlier in the spring, there was a lot of chatter about Ubisoft and that streaming platform coming to into Game Pass, mostly because what Microsoft did in a very smart way is they went to EA, and that was like a piloting. I don't know, piloting program is probably not the appropriate way to sell it, but EA is like a huge name. Microsoft or Phil looked at their catalog and said, "We made sports games," and like EA is right down the road. And they said, "Let's figure this out with EA, because if they can get that model to work, then the next conversation right after that was announced and all rolled out was like, well, Ubisoft is like a huge company. Maybe we can get them in there, and they also have a streaming service that." I don't have any insight into how well or is not well that is potentially performing. And so I personally, and this is non-insider information, think it will happen eventually, because I think we're going to see sort of unlike the TV space where every company has their own application that runs on a Chromecast or an Apple TV, I think we're going to see a much more consolidated game streaming environment as opposed to what we see in other markets. So, it'll be interesting to see. The outlier out here is like Epic or somebody trying to snatch that up. I think is right. They've got a lot of cash, and so does Steam or Valve, I should say, for that matter.
That would be a good get for them,
right?
You know, for anybody to grab Ubisoft. I call them Ubisoft. You call them Ubisoft, and in the end, they're the same company, I suppose. It just seems like it doesn't seem implausible with them bringing EA. You think about EA as a $5 a month service that just like dumped into Game Pass. Like, it just comes with your service. So
yeah,
Microsoft must have given them quite a bit of money to make that work and to offset the costs. So maybe it wouldn't be too crazy for them to grab Ubisoft. I haven't heard anything since that, those little rumors and whispers that Brad and I were hearing this spring, but that would be really big.
I can guarantee you those conversations happened. Like the thing is with marketing and this types of stuff, you could be sitting down at a table and like one little thing comes up and you're like, we're done. Like that's a there's no way around that. And both sides just are oil and water at that point. Microsoft talks to everybody all the time, and these things take time to mature. And honestly, they also take time to, let's say they did sign it in March. Well, what other agreements did they have in place about games, advertising, exclusivity, other marketing deals that they had in the pipeline? And so they sign it, but they can't talk about it or do anything because they got to let these other deals go out, because otherwise they'll get sued by those people because like, hey, you tainted the waters and now people aren't buying our stuff that we paid for, blah, blah, blah. And so these deals have a very long horizon to them that when they like, how long had Microsoft been working with Bethesda? It was decades. Phil had known those guys.
Yeah. Like their whole time they've been working together. Yeah,
exactly. So these things don't come together. It's not like they rode an elevator up and they scribbled on the back of a napkin like this is happening. These things take time to materialize.
Well, maybe.
Well, maybe.
I got to get into another spicy one. We're going to talk about. Let's talk about. Remind me of this one because I'm going to read this next question. And I might like forget it, but we're going to talk about the question of exclusives. So we'll put a pin in that. ISarlar18 says, if that's the case, Nintendo pretty much always wins. I think he or she's talking about the console war.
Yeah.
But guess what? I can't play those kind of games. PlayStation and Xbox has been their favorite since they were in the early 90s. Also, Mass Effect is game of the year. I loved Did you play Mass Effect, Brad?
I have not yet. I've got a back catalog. I'm actually, the next game I'm supposed to play through according to my spreadsheet is I waited no joke, dude.
You have a spreadsheet?
I live at Excel. I legitimately made like a list of games that I wanted to play and kind of based on the ratings. Like the next one that I have that I need to play through is Cyberpunk, because I was waiting after the launch, and I still haven't played through it yet. I was waiting for it to get patched and fixed and all that.
Well, let me just say that game doesn't do anything groundbreaking. I still really enjoyed it. I was like among everyone else who's like, and I enjoyed it. Let's talk about this crazy exclusive question. There is still this thing persistent in the media right now, Brad, that Starfield and Elder Scrolls are coming to PlayStation. Have you been seeing this this bargaining and reasoning of in articles and online?
Yeah, I would be pretty shocked if they did. Again, Microsoft paid a bunch of money. So the other thing too, so Microsoft paid $7.5 billion for Bethesda. We don't know if any of that was earmarked out for contracts that they were going to break. That is, we don't know. Maybe it was zero, or maybe Microsoft was planning to do it. But I think there's going to be, it would be really hard for Microsoft, in my opinion, to justify buying these studios for that kind of money and then standing up in front of their entire company and shareholders and gamers and be like, yeah, we're going to ship them over there. With the major exception, and I don't think this will happen, the major exception of if somehow Game Pass landed on a PlayStation. That is like the only exception, I think, to this.
Yeah, I think there might be at least one existing contract, but yeah, there's been this bargaining that's going on with some of the media sites saying that Elder Scrolls could possibly still release on the PlayStation. One of the problems that I have with this argument is it seems to be the only true logic behind someone saying that Elder Scrolls release on PlayStation has nothing to do with Game Pass landing somewhere. I honestly think, Brad, it has to do with people feel like PlayStation is so big that it can't omit games. And I think there's this attitude that is not justifiable, that PlayStation is so big that it can't miss out on a big franchise that used to be on the platform. Do you have an opinion on that spiciness?
Yeah, I mean, I understand. First off, I understand the argument of why people are going to be upset that you bought a PlayStation console expecting potentially a title to come over. Like, I can totally relate to that. I still go back to, like, I don't think it's going to land over there. PlayStation has a ton of games. The only way this would ever happen, or I shouldn't say aside from Game Pass, is if they're like, okay, bring Spider-Man over. Or, like, what's Microsoft going to get in return? Because at this point, the bargaining chips are in Microsoft's hands. It's pretty much them to say go, no go, if this is going to happen. Even if there was a contract, Microsoft has like 130, well, it's less than that now. Over $100 billion in cash in the bank, like a ton of it. And let's say that contract was $100 million. You know, like they can get their way out of this. So, like, I would be shocked to see them do it, and I would love to know what their argument would be for doing it if they did publish those games on there. But I don't know. Sony's got to let it get stuff, and I think nobody's ever been mad that Mario's not on Xbox or PlayStation. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, they don't expect it to.
Right.
I mean, there was that rumor that Game Pass would go to Switch. That's kind of fizzled out or dissolved away. But they're like, oh, well, then I want Mario. And it's like, well, it doesn't work that way. But Hargreet Johnny says, I think new information will come out over the months to keep Xbox in the news. They've still got a lot more to say. Uplay and Game Pass acquisition, etc. Next drop will likely be around the Sony conference. So if you are just joining us, I had Major Nelson and Larry Hryb, as he's called, and Jeff Rubenstein on the show, and I asked them pretty point blank if they had any new events in the planning, and I knew how they would answer, and they answered just how I knew they would answer.
The company line.
They said, we don't have anything to announce at this time. I was hoping that they would say, we're not done yet. We have heard Aaron Greenberg say things like we're not done because he knows that they've got stuff coming up. We do know that PAX is coming, the Video Game Awards. So, Brad, are there going to be any other events? Xbox will make another showing, you think?
I'm pretty sure they will. I would be surprised. Now, the scale of the event is the big unknown at this point. But I definitely think that Microsoft will have another games update or some sort of event, probably late fall, something like that, maybe around that timeline, right around that pivotal holiday shopping season. If I could enunciate, it's getting a little late. I think there'll be something around there, and then like the wild card event here, and I'll just throw this out there, is Microsoft actually has an event on Thursday of this week. It's a Windows related event. The reason why I'm bringing this up is some stuff leaked. There's actually customizations that look like that are coming to Windows specifically targeted at improving game performance. Now, where this all ties over. It's like, I wonder if we're going to get more gaming news out of Microsoft, maybe not directly Xbox console related, but I wonder if we're going to get more gaming news out of them potentially as early as Thursday.
Interesting, like GameCore type stuff, possibly.
We don't know yet. So let me put it this way: so a build of Windows 11 leaked, and when you install it in a VM, it's a new screen that shows up. It says, "How do you want to tailor your install?" And it's like creativity, and then there's one very specifically. It says gaming, and there's been some leaked benchmarks that show that if you use that option, you actually get better performance on your existing device compared to Windows 10 when it comes to game
Tries to keep Windows out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. Of course, you're on the Bloodhound trail of that for sure. That's this Thursday, huh?
Yeah, that's this Thursday. The event is 11 a.m. Eastern time. Now it's not like, please don't like log in thinking this is an Xbox event. It's very much Windows focused, but there's gaming going to be related to it. So
Sappho in the chat says, "Didn't Windows 11 leak? I think it's a red herring."
No, it's definitely not. It is not. That was I with a high degree of confidence that stuff that leaked, that build that leaked, was not a red herring. So
okay. Are we going to expect to see a report from you shortly after that event?
Oh yeah,
midday. Yeah.
Yes. There will be. Yeah, there will definitely be one. The interesting thing about YouTube is, there's a whole conversation about YouTube algorithms. YouTube really punishes you if you publish like multiple videos in a day. And so
really?
It's not I shouldn't say punishes you, but your likelihood of getting a lot of traffic to both is like, imagine the amount of people that are going to come to your channel is 100%. When you publish 2 videos, like it's split. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do on Thursday.
It just makes me think of some of the content creators that pump out like a bunch of videos every day, and it's just, it's crazy because I get to the point where I put out 1 or 2 a week, and I am just like worn out, and I always feel like my audience has seen enough. I can do an 8 or 12-minute video, and we all need a couple days off, but interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think, and you know this just as well as I do, like creating content like this, from the outside, you just see that, but that is just a gargantuan amount of prep work, editing, voiceovers, asset creation that really goes into it. And so, yeah, but anyways, long story short, like you do one video and I'll have one definitely out on Thursday related to Windows 11, but we got to wait and see what all the announcements are to kind of package all that up and then figure out how I'm going to slice it apart over the following days.
Yeah, it could be a lot of stress, but
yeah.
If you're still here, we've got 1,300 people watching. Brad, Sams, and I are talking about the trajectory of Xbox, and boy, has it been a good trajectory. They're kind of lining up that Xbox and shooting it quite a ways out there. I think people are really excited. Brad, did you watch E3? Let's get your thoughts real quick as we wind down here. How did you feel about E3?
E3, so I'm always watching it from, trying to understand the business direction that Microsoft is going. And again, like we said a little bit ago, they did a really good job of enunciating clearly the intent. But there were a lot of good games, like Forza Horizon 5. I think it's super interesting, one from a visual showcase too, but also like that creators mode that's coming. Contraband, I thought looked pretty good. There was I love Halo. I think my first video game love was probably Halo, at least console for sure. So Halo, actually seeing Halo Infinite and not just like stills that we had seen from the 343 updates, I thought went really well. And also, I think they did a pretty good job, honestly, on their pacing. I know that some people might think like it's really easy to do that, but it's not. Like they probably, I can guarantee they put a lot of thought about how and when games are going to be showing, because you didn't have 17 FPS shooters in a row. You want to, they did a good job of varying the content, and the pacing felt fine. It didn't feel rushed, which can often happen in a virtual event like that.
Yeah, there was a little part there when they talked about Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls, and then a couple little games where I was like, okay, but I was taking notes to create a video, but then it picked up really well. And then, like I said earlier before you jumped on, they had more content in the following days instead of trying to fit like if you try to fit in some of those interviews, it can really slow down. Even though the interviews are really great, Paris did a phenomenal job. Like I watched that thinking, look at this, a guy in our community up there like he's done it a million times. It's a good time. It's a really good time. Yeah. Brad, thanks you so much for being here. Thank you to the 1,300 people plus that were watching the show with Larry Hryb and Jeff Rubenstein of Xbox, and then Brad Sams, great content creator, here to talk about the rest of the news and some stuff that's coming up that we'll be hearing about very soon. Brad, tell them what you've been playing and where they can find you and follow you and subscribe to your channel. What's the name of it? All that stuff.
As I very not candidly alluded to before, I play a lot of Warzone. I mean, just because I've got some good buddies and we just sit down after a day's worth of work, we can all drop in. Those types of games are probably what I played the most recent. Looking forward to, like I said, Flight Sim. Best way to find me is just search my name on the YouTubes. It's been growing pretty well the past year, and a couple videos out. Actually, I just put one out today, but Colt does a great job on his demographic, and I take it very much from like, hey, here's what Xbox is doing. These are the ramifications for the long term. And yeah, just search my name on anything, BD Sams or Brad Sams, and you'll find me.
And what's your subscriber count up to now?
I think 43K, something like that.
Brag it up.
Yeah.
Brag it up. That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I remember when you started your channel, it just started cranking. Like, that's really cool to watch. But yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you, Colt. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, and you took like a little vacation before E3. I'm like, what? Are you gone during this thing?
Yeah.
But you're back.
E3 always falls at a terrible, like the thing is so we always take a vacation roughly the first week of June. That's just when we go. And E3 is just
when
always dead. And so my wife was always just upset that during E3, I'm always like locked to the thing. And it's like, she's like, we should be on the beach. I'm like, I know, but games.
Yeah, I remember my mom came to visit the week of E3 a couple years ago. And I'm like, Mom!
Yeah.
I'm a grown man. I gotta go watch this video game thing, Mom. I'll ignore you for a little bit. Yeah, Achievement says, if Microsoft bought Silent Hill, Metal Gear, Castlevania IPs before Sony announced their supposed projects, that would be another big MLB situation. Have you heard about this Kojima rumor still alive and kicking again today? Did you follow this?
I have not. So, the gut reaction from that is that is like a deep stab wound. If that. But the other thing too is Microsoft will probably have a lot of regulatory trouble trying to buy a company like that, just because of where they're based, and a U.S. company trying to come in and buy it would be pretty. There's a lot of challenges there. That would be crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It would be the correct use of the word upsetting. Yes. It would be an upsetting of balance of how things are working. Yeah, it would be crazy, but I think a partnership might be in the works. But
I think that's a logical approach. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're building something that's going to come to Game Pass, but be multi-platform, or maybe it's an exclusive. I don't know. Kojima's been very fluid. His game just went to PC, so people love him. I think his stuff's still too different for me, but I know he's super talented. I'll never take that away from him. I want to give a shout out to the mods who are here, locking things down, keeping things clean and clear. Shout out to Lethal Papa, Happy Bomb, Underachiever, Sean the Bree, Obi-Wan, FTW. These are great people that work really hard to make sure that people aren't clawing their own eyes out in the chat. So you guys are all phenomenal. Violent Femme, I could name off everybody. You guys are really great. Thank you so much for being here. Brad, thank you so much for showing up to the show. I'm going to have you on again.
Yes.
And when you show up, you'll be right side up like from the get-go, right?
I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that.
I think the way this show is, I think it's great. That people love it. They were having a good laugh, and now you're right side up, and that's great. Yeah, but thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you had a good time. We'll do this again. I'll send you another message and say, hey, Brad, we're going to talk about some stuff. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. This is the XNC Podcast. We're live every Monday on YouTube, and we are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Pocket Podcasts. I'll have to look that up. I don't know what it is, but it's there. And we're on demand. That will be on demand in the hour or two after the show wraps. Timestamps will be in the show later on today. Brad, wave to everybody. Tell them thanks for showing up and listening to us talk
everybody.
Gaming. Yeah, it was a really good time, and we'll see you again soon. Have a good week.
Thanks, Colt.